So when a seller tells me that a buyer's finance when they're buying the business is not their problem, well, I cringe a little bit. It very much is their problem. Buyers need finance to buy a business. And for the seller to say, oh, it's got nothing to do with me, is just the wrong mindset. And that mindset has killed more sales than any other mindset around. It most certainly is the seller's problem, the buyer getting finance. But I get it. There's the seller. They put their time, their energy, their money, their blood, sweat and tears into their business. And here's a buyer coming along saying, hey, finance is your problem as well as mine. Well, it definitely isn't that case. Now I'll explain why. Look, I get it. I get the seller's point of view. They think that the buyer should just, well, figure it out. That's what they did when they started the business. But 20 years as a business broker, and I've seen this time and time again, for the seller to help the buyer get finance, to help them arrange finance for the business is very much part of what they should be doing. Because helping the buyer with finance is often the difference between selling the business now or keeping it for another 6 months or 12 months. And do they really want to do that? As one buyer once said to me, do they want to sell this business or are they intent on keeping it as a pet? Let me be very clear, this is not vendor finance. No deferred payments, no earnouts, no time payments, no little bit up front and pay you the rest over time. It's way simpler than that and way more effective than that. And moreover, it has no risk to the seller at all. And this is what the seller should be doing. Let me explain. But here's the hard truth. Buyers need finance. No, they're not broke. No, they're not stupid. No, they're not trying to buy something bigger than what they can afford. They use finance because it's smart. Borrow other people's money, namely the banks, get the tax advantages in doing so, and don't risk all of your capital. Risk other people's money. So it's the smart thing to do, but they need the seller's help to be able to do that. Yep, and this is where sellers sabotage their own sale. They hand over their accounts and they say, head off to the bank, do your thing, it's all up to you, Mr. Buyer. But here's the truth, banks don't fund on stories, banks fund on numbers, banks fund on the truth. So a buyer is going to use the seller's accounts to help them get finance. So the seller needs to provide a set of accounts that looks good. They need to provide a set of accounts that gives the true profitable picture of the business. And here's the trap, isn't it? Tax accounts are exactly that. They're designed to be as tax efficient as possible. So the seller goes to his accountant and he says, thanks, Mr. Accountant, but I don't want to pay any tax. How do you construct these accounts to pay as little tax as possible? And so the accountant does that. He produces or she produces a set of accounts that they can give to the Inland Revenue Department, the tax department, showing the lowest profit possible. Now, it's not a con, it's not a scam, it's good business if you're the owner of the business. But those self-same tax accounts, those accounts that are showing a minimal profit, turn around and bite the seller when the buyer goes to the bank with those set of accounts and the bank looks at it and goes, well, it's not making any money. Oh, no, we've just changed it for tax efficiency. Well, what is the true picture of the business in that case, says the bank. So that's where something called add backs comes in. Now the seller needs to go to their accountant before they try and sell the business and say to the accountant, hey, we need to present the most profitable accounts we can for the buyer. So can we recast these accounts and remove the private expenditure, remove the cars, the boats, the trips, the health insurance, the perks, the dinners out, the holidays, whatever. Take those out so the accounts that go to a buyer show the true profitability of the business. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of this. It's all perfectly okay, but it needs to be done so when the buyer goes to the bank, they actually see the business in its most profitable light. And that's one of the ways a seller helps the buyer with their finance. So in my 20 years as a business broker, I've seen sales stopped cold, sales stall, simply because the accounts didn't reflect the true value of the business. The buyer, the banker, the funder, they looked at it and said, It's just not profitable. We're not lending on that. And the buyer's going, I'm not buying a business that's only making that much money. And the seller's going, no, there's plenty of money in there. There's plenty of profit in there. It's just the accountants don't show it for tax purposes. As I said, fine for tax, not if you're going to sell your business. And this is where smart sellers win. They work with their accountant to show the business in the best possible light. It's not changing history, it's not erasing history, it's just presenting the business as best they can, presenting the business in the most favourable way possible. And now those smart sellers will end up getting top value for their business. The buyer will end up getting funding, and they'll own a business that really is profitable, and everybody wins. Sellers have to think about the fact they're not actually helping the buyer, they're helping themselves. They're helping the deal, they're helping the sale. They're giving a buyer a quicker response. The bank's going to get back to them faster, quicker approvals, faster approvals, and a better outcome for both parties. So it just makes good sense. So if you're getting value from this video, and I certainly hope you are, you might want to read my latest book. It's called How to Sell Your Business, Maximum Value, Minimum Stress. It's got all that inside information, all those tricks and tips that brokers use that they don't tell you about. It's 20 years of business sales knowledge rolled up into 232 pages. If you want to have a look at it, link in the description below. Let's get back to the video, shall we? So the goal here isn't about price. We've already agreed on that. The goal here is to get to settlement as fast, as efficient and as cost effective as possible. So you don't just prepare your business for sale, you prepare the pathway for the buyer to enable them to get their finance quickly and efficiently. That way you get the result you want, so does the buyer, everybody's happy. So if you want to know more about selling your business, more of the inside knowledge, the tips and tricks that business buyers use that, they generally don't tell you, have a look up there. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching. Cheerio.